Three of the 4 days that she's here, Julia she just can't help herself. She's just not able we were supposed to do a planting day.
And we have Marjorie Simmons here, who is our CSA leader and coordinator with the website. If you have website suggestions and praise, it goes all to Marjorie, for sure.
A work in progress, always.
And we all do
Moving
that,
target.
for sure. And next to her is Barry Agriberry. Barry Hayes is our site leader at Whole Foods and Aw Shucks, and co-site leader with Marjorie on Tuesday at Atlee, and he does our Hanover Farm market. And he's a Henrico Master Gardener and a wonderful person. So another one resource for asking
God bless you.
questions. And April showers bring May flowers, right? So our raspberries and blackberries are harvested primarily by 14 to 22-year-olds from this local community. Yes, it's a first job. It's an opportunity. Not many kids get a chance to go to their grandparents' farm and learn about any type of harvesting. And Chuck and I were really fortunate to be able to establish a farm up in the northern neck at a fairly young age, in our mid-20s. Watch your step, it may be slick. Angle? Yes, this is about 12 acres of open ground, to give you an idea, and that doesn't go all the way to that far hedgerow. We'll get a better glimpse of it as we do our walkabout. One of the themes for our talk in April is about, well, how do plants propagate if it's not about sex? And it's asexual propagation. So it's vegetative propagation, which means how do they multiply and how do we get plant material in as well. So we can make it that basic. And black raspberries are fairly well known as the wild berry. I'm from upstate New York, the Finger Lakes, so I grew up picking black raspberries at a very young age, into chock full of nut can and take it home and make purple milk. And here's where you end up 50 some years later, right? But I love black raspberries. We're a little far south here for them. But they also, if you keep up on nutrition, right now black raspberries have the highest level of antioxidants and nutraceuticals, which are all the healthy components inside fruit, of all the berries out there, more so than blueberries. They just don't have a press agent. Yet. That's another to be continued. But black raspberries are awesome, and they're hollow, and they have a little cap to them. But another thing that's a little interesting about them, and when we meet in June, we'll definitely be eating some of these samples, or we hope to have samples so that you can try them. They have this natural sort of bluish gray around them, which is called bloom. And you know that, you'll see that on a blueberry. Many of you know the blueberry, and it seems like a little dusty coating on the outside. Well, we all used to know that's just what was normal. Well, nature has that wax on the fruit. So we're going to be seeing that. And black raspberries have quite a bit of that. So that's why you don't see them in the grocery store, because most receivers think it's mold. So that's the point of that story. But it's nature's wax. You'll see it on Empire apples, you'll see it on blueberries, and you'll notice it a lot actually on apples that are right from the orchard but haven't gone through a pack line. So these plants went into the ground in spring of 2012. Okay, and these were nursery matured, but they came from tissue culture. We try to get as many of our plantlets from tissue culture, which is actually a little start from inside the laboratory, where they take the teeniest, tiniest growing stem from there, and then they put it on a little plate, and then it grows and it divides and it makes the plant. But it's the one best way to guarantee it's virus-free. Because the reason you don't see lots of berry farms all over the place is because plants get viruses more easily than a four-year-old going off to kindergarten, sort of thing. So we put, the nursery matured is 1 year from tissue culture. And you can see our spacing on them here. It's 2 feet. And we put that one little crown in, and then it grows this plant up. So this started out last year in 2014. And you can see we topped it, and then that pushed the laterals. But one of the other things, in the winter we were pruning them back to here. But last fall, they were all coming down into the ground, and as you can see, it tipped, and now we have the start of a whole new black raspberry plant right there. So that is how black raspberries propagate. It's tip propagation. And and as you can imagine, the point of a bramble is to make a bramble patch. And that's how it goes about doing it, is just sending out all those tips and runners, tips and runners, tips and runners. Well, we don't want that. We want to have a very tight, narrow space like this so that we have plenty of air circulation, could reduce the mold, and plenty of sunlight, both of those things. So that's why we contain things up in the trellis. So now there's another exciting part that you are here for, and your timing is perfect. We call this the floricane. I told you that it grew up last year and that we pruned it. Well, look what we have coming up now. You see this new growth? And at the crown, there's a couple of spaces, and you can see that it has a little bit different color. And this is what's called the primocane. And this will have fruit next year in 2016. And it can grow in 10 days' time, it can be over this wire if it's the right warmth and the right amount of moisture. And its whole goal is that race, to get up and to get spread back down and to be taking anchor and starting a bigger bramble patch. But meanwhile, this one's going to be fruiting. And when this finishes fruiting, this cane dies back completely. All you have is the primocane. So the neat thing, why I chose the raspberries and blackberries for our first worker trading program, is because young people could learn on them. It would be standing up height, and they couldn't really mess things up badly. You're going to get a whole new plant like coming up the following year. So this is the story for black raspberries. And on the side behind you, these are the purple raspberries. This is the royalty. If you've ever had our purple royalty jam, which we sample frequently at South of the James and a couple of the other places. Because it's half black raspberry, half red raspberry, it is a very purpley mauve-colored fruit, which people think is a very overripe red raspberry. So it's a tough one to market, direct market-wise, but it makes a great jam. And Chuck was like, "You're putting all these in for jam?" And I was like, "Yes." And now I'm thinking I want to encourage Hardywood Brewery, which does a bit with our blackberries for a beer. They do a raspberry stout. They need to do a royalty stout. And I think no one else in the country would have it, that's for sure. And because it's half black raspberry, it does tip, but it has also partially red raspberry. And red raspberries, they propagate naturally with root suckers. So you're seeing where there's holes in the plastic and they're popping up left and right. So it does a little of both.
Does it just pop out, or do you cut holes and then it pops out the hole?
It pops. That was either a hole that maybe a deer stepped on, the plastic, something like that. But there are occasions that they'll pop right through on their own. What other experiences have you had with that, Chuck?
The plastic is there to limit the amount of volunteer plants. The plant population that we want is what was planted. I don't want all these guys on the edge,
Right.
and 2 weeks from now they'll all be dead.
Financial causes?
Unnatural causes.
Well, you know the definition of a weed is any plant in the wrong spot. And we don't want to have a great big bramble patch here. So it's again managing it. And one of the things, I mean, we utilize integrated pest management. You know, that really guides how we make choices and know what tools we're going to be using in the toolbox. And I like people to hear that there are 3 M's in integrated pest management. The first one is to minimize. What can you be doing to minimize pest challenges? Getting tissue culture plant material that's highly resistant, choosing varieties that are resistant, trying to place them in a field location where you'll minimize problems. We don't have a lot of deer problems right here. We're pretty lucky with that. We don't have a lot of bird problems. A lot of people say, how come you don't have bird problems? Well, mostly because we're in a natural area where the population's in balance with enough habitat. It's where you'll have bird problems in places usually where suburbia is encroaching, sort of thing. So the first one is to minimize your problems. The second is to monitor. And Chuck's constantly monitoring. And that's why he doesn't give up the mowing in here. Not that it's all that frequent, but he wants to be able to see every single row. And we're constantly monitoring. The kids are monitoring. You know, we're keeping an eye on thresholds for any type of disease or problems, things like that. And then your third M for integrated pest management is to manage the situation. And that's when we go to what we call our toolbox. And, you know, a lot of folks are, you know, toolbox can be a wide array of things, and Chuck will share a little bit about that. But that's where we look at what crop protectants might need to be applied. And, you know, much as a parent would go to the doctor if their child needed medicine. And then they would go to the pharmacist and they would apply the prescription as the pharmacist recommended. And that is exactly how we utilize the spray program, you know, those same principles. So we've looked at the purples here, and then just on the other side of it, we have red raspberries. You want to talk in more about?
You're doing a great job.
All right. And we're going to let folks, if they want to, we can't sell you plant material, and we certainly don't want to get into the nursery business, but if anybody wanted a little dig up here before they, if anybody wanted to help with the weeding on the edge, that part isn't filled. Then we can have that. This is pretty exciting. Just looking at this little guy here, you can see that there's the start of little tiny Hershey kisses, and those will be all where the blossoms and the flower parts are. And you can see, I mean, they're just chomping at the bit to get going. And remember, there are your primicanes and what's already upper floricanes.
Does the plastic here not keep the water away from the roots too much?
That is a great question. Asking about the plastic. The plastic is one of our important pest management choices because it's raised up, and you can see the irrigation here, the trickle irrigation. And Chuck's going to, if we have time, he's going to talk to us and do some fertigation. Are you going to be doing that today? You're prepared?
They need food, and the food is here.
Yeah, so you can see the pale color. They're hungry, hungry, hungry for nitrogen. So having the plastic on there keeps the weeds away and holds moisture in for them in the summertime, which is important. And then the trickle irrigation is how we water and
Why is the
spoon feed
plastic
them.
white instead of black?
Why is the plastic white instead of black?
Doesn't get hot.
Deflect heat.
That's right, exactly. And we weren't able to get white plastic when we first put it in 2009, but since then that's all we've purchased, is the white. You have to keep it a little bit cooler in the summer. It's amazing with fruit crops how much that 2 degrees can make a huge difference. And so, you know, we're just making that little bit of progress. Now it's picking up a little bit, so we may want to zip into the tunnel. The next about 15 rows are various red raspberries. And you can see this is a really good example because we've got more winter injury here. See where the bare canes are? So that's when we've had 2 harsh winters in a row. Raspberries are fairly hardy, but many of our varieties are from Great Britain. We have one from Poland, which is, you know, that's a harsher climate. We have another one from Switzerland, and then other ones from the United States. And that's given us plant material that allows us to have fruit from typically late May, early June, up sometimes till Thanksgiving. So we're real excited about what varieties we have available to us. And you can see it's a bit of a challenge. And the red raspberries, as you can see, you know, they're all suckering from the roots. They want to get out from outside that plastic and start creating a whole new bramble patch. These plants aren't quite as tall as the more established ones over there, and that have been in since 2012, 2013. And it just have put the trellis in. They haven't finished all the way across. And you can also see there's not nearly as many suckers growing on the outside yet. And so they'll have their first big harvest. It should have a very good fall crop for us. And the fall crop is what usually starts blooming around 4th of July. And then sometimes we'll have a little bit of a lull, and then it'll start 1st of August. And some of our best picking is usually Halloween week.